and welcome to the Fashion Scoop. Today we have a footwear and an accessories designer with us. Please say hi to Jeetinder Sandhu. Hi Jeetinder.
Hi, Priyanka.
How do you feel
Good.
today?
Excited.
Excited?
I'm happy to be here doing this talk with you.
Okay, he has a lot of international exposure, which he will tell you all about. But he is also very grounded when it comes to his designs and takes inspiration from the Indian roots as well. And let's dive right in. Let's ask him what he's wearing today. What are you wearing today?
My shirt is from Margin, my pants are Isimiyaki, and my shoes are from my own label, Jeetinder Sandhu.
Oh, lovely. I mean, I'm sure everybody saw your shoes in the video that we put before. And, I see this lovely tattoo that you have. Describe the tattoo a little bit for us.
I am obsessed with geometry and lines. So I have a few tattoos that depict that. And this one is actually a balance scale. I believe in having a good, balanced life. So I wanted to sort of put that on my body.
Also, from all the conversation we had previously, you are very clear in your thought process, very balanced.
I would like to say I am. I think I am as a person, but one always strives to achieve better balance. So this was an ode to that.
Lovely. Tell us a little bit more about your brand.
So Jeetinder Sandhu started in 2013, and it started as a menswear clothing label. I was based in London at that time, and we were doing very unique, bespoke, very colorful outfits for men. And naturally, we progressed on to doing footwear. And today we are doing footwear and accessories. And it's a very niche product at the end of the day. We are very clear in terms of what we are putting out there.
He is very clear. I told you.
It has to be a very unique product that I want to put out for my very niche audience.
Lovely. So, why did you ditch the clothing aspect of it altogether?
See, Priyanka, for me, it was when I started, I was very clear that I wanted to be a fashion designer. We all have dreams. And for me, it was this dream that I want to be on the runway. I want to put my designs out there. I'm not saying it was a naive decision. It was a dream of mine, and I achieved it. And I'm so glad I did work towards it, and it has brought me where I am today. But I think because I had this very focused and this very hyper parallel vision as to what I wanted to achieve, that I did not look to other things around me. And that's something that I've learned, given that we're doing 11 years now, is that one has to always be open to other things. So I became a menswear designer. I was running that for about 2 years. And I think for me, naturally, and by a happy accident, I stumbled upon shoes and footwear. I was doing shows in Europe at that time. I was doing shows in Paris, in Berlin, in London. And each show, I would have to source shoes and footwear from either the high street or from brands to fit for the runway show. And it was a very demanding task because sometimes things don't work out.
So you were like, ditch this, I'm going to make my own.
Exactly. And knowing that India has such a rich culture and heritage of footwear, we have a plethora and so many of like these local cobblers and footwear artisans around us that I was like, let me just make it myself and see how it goes. And I have to say, those 2.5 months were so therapeutic for me. I was in India at that time, and I found a cobbler in Nizamuddin East. He literally sits on the side of a road. He's very famous. He's written about in newspapers and publications, and that's his life. So I went to him and I gave him my designs and I said, can you make this for me? And sitting with him every day, watching how he makes these handmade shoes struck something in me. And I just found a new love. And I thought, okay, let me explore a little more of this. And little to my surprise, I actually ended up doing very well with that collection. The footwear response was very good from my audience, from my clients. They loved it. They wanted more of it. And when you're running a business, one has to take a decision as to what's doing better and what's not. And personally, as a person, I always like to go follow my passion. And my
Me too. I love
love
following my passion.
and my love for shoes, I think, was something that really pushed me to go ahead. And I was like, okay, maybe I need to focus more on this. So I decided to close the clothing segment of my label and focus entirely on shoes. And there was no turning back.
Lovely. You're so right about how we have so many local artisans. Like when I visited Jaipur, there's this street opposite Hawa Mahal, right? And there are so many people who are sitting there and making like these nice, I think they're called jutis, and like, the footwear is like so. I mean, it's so cool to see like how all that comes to life and the designs and everything. So, kudos to you. You're doing great work. Tell me a little bit about your newer collection. Is there anything that you've recently released? And, I've seen like you've done a bit of collaborations as well. So, if you can highlight that.
Certainly. I don't necessarily come up with collections. I have built this business from scratch and I operate and work in my own ways, which may not be quite normal for other brands. So instead of doing collections, we come out with pieces. And every couple of months, we do drops, as you may call them. So we've just done a drop right now. And our focus has always been that what we are offering is very gender fluid. Anyone can come up and pick a shoe from my catalog. But knowing my audience, they were not able to understand that clearly through what I was trying to communicate. So this time around, we've got a lot more options, which are traditionally, as you may call, women's shoes that are on offer this time. We have, of course, very classic shoes for men, and we have platforms, but of course, with a very edgy look to them. They're quite unique and different. But coming back to the point that everything is gender fluid. So
So,
any
according to you,
human.
shoes do not have any gender.
No, I mean, who are we as designers and creatives to dictate anything to our audience? I've always believed that if I like something, I will wear it and style it in a way that I want to, irrespective of which section of the shop I picked it up from. It's how you style it. And I feel that my audience and my niche clientele also resonates with that a lot. So, and I think also naturally, I think it has been a progression from, say, menswear clothing to men's shoes, then doing women's shoes for me as a brand. Then realizing, why am I putting these sort of labels when someone who wants to pick a shoe, they should easily be able to do that. Who are we as designers or brands and labels? Why are we dictating it? It definitely opens the option to a lot of bigger audience, So that's why it ended up happening that it's for everyone. And I feel that the same rule applies to clothing. And I feel more and more we're seeing this, I wouldn't call it trend, but it's an uprise and an uptick in terms of brands going gender fluid.
I feel it's not a trend because it's here to stay.
Exactly. It has to be a natural idea that this piece of clothing can be worn by anybody, or this piece of accessory, be it, for example, the leather bangles I'm wearing right now, easily can be worn by you or your mother or my father or myself. So who are we to sort of say this can be only worn by you or anything else? So that's one of the main sort of, I won't call it rule, but it very strongly is prevalent in my way of working.
Lovely. I saw this collection. You don't do collections, but I saw this thing. You had a collaboration with Aruka. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. And, it has these pink, really chunky footwear and, some other pieces that I saw. So, what's this thing? Like, why are people so into bigger heels, like, these chunky footwear? Like, even in shoes, there was a trend, like, everybody was going gaga over this. What's the reason behind that?
See, first of all, platform shoes are here to stay. Okay, I personally feel that they are, they create this aura around you when you wear a shoe. It has an impact on how you behave and how it boosts your confidence. It changes your personality a little bit as well. And who doesn't want a shoe to do that for you? It is something that is statement worthy. If you go to an event or to a place and it draws attention to you, who doesn't want that? It's a conversation starter.
I hate it when there's a tension on me.
Okay, the tension may be on the shoe, but I
I
personally
get borderline embarrassed. Yeah.
I somehow feel that, you know, like how sometimes people say things about clothes. If you wear a certain piece of clothing, it has that effect of boosting your confidence or lifting your mood. It has a dopamine effect. I feel the same thing applies to shoes for me, and it definitely is confidence boosting. And
I love it when it has like a pop of color, like when those neon greens and pinks and all when it came. Okay, it's been a while now since they are here, but like I think that is something which really gives you that dopamine effect. I it also depends a lot on how you style it. So coming to that, how do you recommend that one should style? Like, give us some styling tips.
See, the easiest thing is, first of all, of course, you have to understand how you as a person is. Like, do you wear color? Do you wear monotone colors? Do you want to be subtle or out there? Uh, but given my offerings with the products that I do, the shoe is just enough to do all the talking for you.
I've seen.
The customer has very little amount of work to do. So you can wear the shoes and you can be all black, all beige, monotone, whatever you want. Or you can even go all colorful. Like you can be a bouquet out there and it will work. That's what I want with my shoes, especially, is that there's little amount of effort and little amount of thinking that the client has to do, and they can easily put together something and go out for an event or go out even for a work meeting, for example. So it has to have that versatility.
So, what's your, if you had to pinpoint a piece that has been your favorite till now from your brand, what would it be?
There would be a few, but of course, I think the collaboration with Aroka was such a strong and pivotal point for me. I think we did some really good work, and that's still on right now. So we had this pink Mary Janes from that collaboration, which was, I think it's one of my favorite pieces. It's a 5-inch platform, and people are so surprised to sometimes when they pick up the shoe, they realize that it's actually a very light shoe.
It looks heavy, but okay, it's light.
It's natural for you to imagine and think
Yeah.
that it would be a heavy shoe given the proportion and the size of it and the height of it. But we've done a lot of R&D, and I feel so proud, and I'm I'm very not at all modest about it, that we've done a lot of work and we're proud to put such a good product out there that it's extremely practical for you to wear. You can dance in it for 5 hours, 6 hours. You can go clubbing in it. There's not going to be an issue, and you'll be so comfortable.
Yeah, I feel for footwear, like comfort is the priority.
Yeah.
I think at least for me, because, you have to literally walk in it. And, so I have I have a flat foot. Okay. So is there any particular tip you have for a person like me?
Definitely. Come to me. We'll make good shoes for you. We have a lot of clients actually who have issues of flat foot or have certain, like bunions have happened, for example, thanks to bad shoes and bad footwear. So we accommodate a lot of things when it comes to customization and making sure that comfort is sort of the most important thing when making shoes. Because you see, if you're going to wear a shoe that hurts your feet, you will never come back to me.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
You will not want to spend that amount of money, no matter how good the shoe looks. If it's biting your foot at the end of the day, you're not going to
And
come
that's
back.
an issue with a lot of brands, they look amazing, but then you wear it and you're like, I'm not going back to this.
So that's kind of a thing that we have tried to sort of achieve over the years, is that we bring to you very good craftsmanship and skill. I have a very strong team in place who do some amazing work. They have the technical know-how, which is very important when it comes to footwear. But I'm mixing and creating a marriage of the two, where I'm bringing very good design infused with India, a touch of our culture and heritage. But also we're very modern when it comes to using the skills that are required to have comfortable shoes or to accommodate your issues. Like, for example, you have a flat foot or you have odd sizing. all of those things can be sort of taken into account. And what happens at the end of the day is a product that is very comfortable, it's light, it's practical, you can run around in it, and it'll be almost second in nature that you will not even realize that you're wearing maybe, say, a 3-inch platform shoe for a guy or, say, a 5-inch for anyone. It becomes a part of you, basically, is what I'm trying to say.
This reminds me, like, I think recently in the news I saw that we have like an Indianized standard of measuring the footwear now. I don't know. Do you remember what it's called?
Yes, it's called a bha. And it's just sort of been sort of talked about, and I think it's coming into practice probably from next year is what I've heard.
Yeah, I think that's a really great move.
Yes.
Because we needed it.
Definitely. I think sizing with shoes is such an issue because I would say majority of the Indian audience especially is wearing a wrong shoe size, which then ends up resulting in a lot of other issues like, you have shoe bites or you have bunions forming. So getting the
I
right...
think even you get back pains and all, like it affects your whole body, I feel.
It has effects that one doesn't even realize exactly what you're saying. So having a standard shoe sizing for the Indian audience is very important because if, say, an Indian audience or a customer is picking a European size, they may get the size right, but then there's so many other factors involved because, you have the girth of the foot, you have so many other aspects like how broad the foot is. So that does not take into account our body type and how we are as people. So it was about time that, we have our own sizing system. And I really struggle a lot sometimes with clients who either have a US sizing in place, but when they come to us in person and we do the measurements, we tend to realize that what they're actually wearing is the wrong size. And then it's a surprise for them because they're like, oh, wait, but I've been wearing this all my life, so I have...
You've been doing it wrong all your life.
Yes, and then when they wear a shoe from us, they realize, oh, wow, this actually feels much, much better and they're so much more comfortable in it. So it's important that
Makes sense.
We've got the system in now.
Nice. Throughout your journey, like, was there any brand or designer that really inspired you when it came to footwear? Like, you looked up to it and you were like, I want to be like this. Was there a moment?
There were definitely a few because I've been fond of fashion and clothing and shoes for a very long time. But I think an Italian label, Berluti, is one of my absolute favorites. Again, mixing Italian craftsmanship, but really sort of bringing in very edgy designs to the offering and to the table was something that really excited me. And that was, I think, the first brand that really sort of clicked with me when I was, quite young and starting off with my brand. So they were quite exciting and I look up to them. And then there is Prada, of course. I'm sorry, I'm only taking some international names right now because back then there were hardly any Indian labels. So looking at that 10, 15 years ago, Prada was a big name for me that I really looked up to. Berluti. Marni is another one that I really am fond of because they bring some very interesting designs. They're very colorful and very interesting when it comes to manipulations with materials on their shoe uppers. So these are a few that really sort of have stayed on with me. Even today, I look up to them and follow the brand.
Got it. So you are the master of shoes. Tell me like a recent evolution that you have seen in the footwear industry.
Considering that we are now in India, I'm noticing that people are realizing there's such a big gap in the Indian footwear industry, especially with design houses and designer labels doing footwear. Having said that, yes, there is definitely an influx of newer brands doing some very interesting work. But what I'm seeing the evolution is realizing how rich a culture and heritage we have already and infusing that with some really contemporary and really design forward and technically sound footwear. So, you have sneaker brands, but they're fusing it with kantha stitching, for example. And you have other brands doing some very cool work with textiles that are so rich with craftsmanship on the surface, but infusing it with footwear. And the results are just very interesting. And I feel it's very current for the current Indian audience, because we have traveled a lot. We have seen things. We are so much into social media nowadays that you can see things anywhere around the world, what's happening. So we are quite aware of what's going on. But also at the same time, we are quite rooted, I feel, at least this generation or my generation of my peers, I would say we've grown up with things around us that are so rich in our Indian crafts and arts. So I think the marriage of the two is something that I'm seeing and noticing in at least in footwear industry that is coming up.
Is any particular story from like your childhood related to footwear that you remember? So I'll tell you mine. So there was this thing. I was a kid, and of course, my mother used to do all the shopping for me. And I remember, like, there were these shoes that I hated. And she used to force me to wear it. Okay, I don't even remember the brand or anything. Probably it was brandless, God knows. But I used to hate it. And she's like, no, these are very comfortable. You have to wear this. So is there anything like that for you?
Um, Not to my active memory, but my mom keeps talking about it. It was my fourth birthday, and my mom was, very fond of dressing me up. So she had a thing of dressing me up in suits. And
Oh, wow.
yeah, I have a lot of photographs where I am all dressed up in a suit, not going anywhere. But my mom was fond of it. So she, on my fourth birthday, had made me the suit, and she could, like, I don't know how she managed to find a red pair of shoes. They're almost like, the Dorothy shoe and the red slipper kind of vibe. But I was like, where did you find a red shoe? And that red shoe is in all the photographs, of course, birthday memories. So that I would say is a strong foot or shoe memory that has sort of been
So
a
your
part
mother
of me.
wanted you to become an influencer. She was dressing you up to go to nowhere.
I guess she knew it from then on, yeah.
Yeah. Lovely, nice. I've seen this thing. I was reading this article that women's footwear is more expensive than men's footwear. Is that true, or is that just a myth?
It depends on which segment and sector you're talking about. Yes, I mean, statistically speaking, or even if you look back at generalizing things, there has this been notion that women tend to spend more in when it comes to fashion and shoes. So naturally, when you think and talk about brands like the top A-level brands, you will obviously expect them to price women's footwear much higher in terms of percentage as compared to men's. Men's, even in fashion, in terms of clothing and footwear, they tend to have lesser offerings. So as a result, the pricing is also, priced lower in comparison. So that is actually a fact when it comes to at least the top level of brands. When you're talking about all the Louis Vuittons and Gucci and Loewe's and all of that. But then when you look at the sneaker segment, you would realize that it's quite the opposite, because sneaker wear is very dominant with men's.
Yeah, I've noticed.
Men tend to wear and spend a lot of money when it comes to sneakers as compared to women. So I think you'll see that the pricing is either at par with each other, or you'll have a pricey option for men. So depends on which you're looking at.
Okay. I saw this footwear, like it was an all white. It's a collaboration of Fenty Beauty by Rihanna and Puma. So, what do you think of this collaboration, like a beauty brand collaborating with a footwear brand?
I am very strongly and pro collaborations. One has to understand that it is such a genius idea, I would say, because I currently have 3 collaborations that are running. And for them to have collaborated with a beauty, with Rihanna, for example, that has been amazing. And she's worked with them before as well. What tends to happen is that there's this cross-culture sort of mixing of audiences. And of course, her being such a huge name, not just in fashion, not just in music, but also beauty.
And people love Fenty Beauty.
Exactly. So one tends to sort of obviously want to cop such pieces. There's this hype that, okay, let's grab it while it is there, because it's one, of course, her name is so big and associated with it, so one would want to grab that piece. It's a limited edition piece. Similarly, but like when you dissect this idea and concept of collaborations, We have currently 3 collaborations that are running, and 2 are with clothing labels, but one is with a homeware tablescape brand. That idea of mixing footwear with
Like a decor.
with a decor brand was quite interesting, because the end result was something which is very unique and different.
It must be very artistic also. It was with
Exactly.
Ishan, right?
Yes, it's
He is
with
very artistic.
he's a genius.
Yeah.
So and I'm so lucky to have collaborated with him, because it's this mixing of two different entities together. You one can only think of what might come through, but what ends up happening is something completely unique and something very, you can't expect it. And that's what happened with Tablescapes by Shan. Because it's his ideas, and it's his audience, and then there's my ideas and my audience. But when the two come together, the result is something very unique and different. Similarly with Aroka that we've collaborated with, and Triune in Jaipur with resort wear. So each designer has brought in something very special and unique, and it has only helped boost each other's business. Of course, that's the end goal at the end of the day, is to create something that is sales oriented and focused, but also the product is so unique and different. It's so
Got it.
special.
Amazing. So we live in an era of ugly footwear. Okay. We've seen a lot of ugly footwear and people are loving it. I think probably because it's that comfortable. What are your views and comments on that?
I actually love ugly footwear, to be honest. Be it, infamous Crocs or Birkenstocks. I am a fan of them. The uglier the better. Even like brands like Mischief, who've come out with the big red boot,
Yeah.
or the newer rendition that have come out with. These are here to stay. I feel they're not going anywhere, and but it's each is to their own. I mean, if you like it, go for it. If you don't like it, no one's forcing you to. But I personally have a soft spot for ugly footwear.
Nice. So shifting from like the footwear topic, because we've spoken so much about footwear, let's talk about the highlight of today. It was the Met Monday. For us, it's Tuesday. But anyway, tell me some of your favorite looks from 2024.
I think it was nice to see quite a few Indian, designers and of course artists and celebrities on the red carpet, on the Met carpet. I loved Mindy Kaling wearing Gaurav Gupta, which was super cool. I felt it was quite out of the box, considering that the theme was garden and time, and
It was Sleeping Beauty's reawakening fashion.
Yes.
And the Garden of Time. Was
and the
it?
Garden of
Yeah.
Time. So, we saw a lot of floral embellishments and very heavy on embroidery and very larger than life outfits. But with Gaurav Gupta, I think Mindy kept it very clean and simple. And I felt that was a refreshing look. I really loved that option. Then I also felt that Bad Bunny, who was co-hosting in a Margiela, was killer. Absolutely
I
loved
saw
it.
so many Margiela looks.
Yes.
And it was great to see, because I was anticipating that this would happen like in this year's Met, and it did, and I'm so glad it did. Talking about Gaurav Gupta, I think it was like Aishwarya Rai had worn something similar like previously, so like a lot of talks are going on about that. Coming to Indian people, I feel like there was this Rahul Mishra huge trail on Isha Ambani, which
Yeah.
was really cool. Also, like Alia Bhatt in that Sabyasachi
Sabyasachi.
sari.
Yeah.
I love how she wore a sari to the Met, and like her jewelry was also really cool, like all the rings and everything. And Sabyasachi himself is like the first designer to walk the Met, which was pretty cool. Yeah.
I mean, it's a big first for us that we have. Of course, he's making us so proud. So it's a huge moment for at least the Indian fashion fraternity to have him represent us, and of course with such beautiful works on display.
Yeah. I even loved, like, shifting our focus from the Indian, like, to Zendaya. Like, she had two looks for the Met, which
Yeah.
is, of course, very hard to pull off. I think I liked the first one, which was also a Margiela look. Then what else? Like, I have to talk about this. So you know Tyla, like the
Yeah.
you
So
know.
she's wearing the sand dress.
Yes, so she's wearing like the sand dress, and
Yeah.
I think it was heavy, so she had to be lifted. Like I
I
saw
think
that
she couldn't
video.
move. So she had
Yeah,
an entourage around her who was lifting her step by step,
yeah.
which was,
I saw
I
that.
think, that's why we love the Met. You know, it's all about this craziness. I think that was, again, like such a interesting look, I would say. I don't know what Anna Winter will say about it, but it was interesting. I really liked Cynthia Evero as well. She was decked beautifully in Thom Brown, and I think the details to the smallest of things was immaculate, including
Even
the
Gigi
footwear.
Hadid wore Thom Brown, I think. Yeah, the
Yeah,
white gown with the yellow
right.
flowers, roses. Yeah,
It
really
was quite an
pretty.
interesting one, but I think there's so much more to dissect in terms of because there's so many artists and celebrities that have sort of walked, and each look has such an immense amount of detail and craftsmanship to it that it's going to take a little bit more of time to understand what really happened. But it's just we're only a couple of hours sort of off from what has happened last night, so we're going to be seeing some amazing looks, I
We
feel.
are going to be talking about this for the next week or two.
Definitely.
It's gonna, yeah.
Easily for the
You know,
next
for
week.
this Met, I feel like I liked the smaller details that people had on them. Like, you know, let's say for the jewelry, the footwear, like when you talk about Bad Bunny, he had these, I think, leather gloves with the flowers.
Yeah.
And even his footwear was cool. So I love the accessories. And even like when we talk about beauty also, I feel like, okay, so Doja Cat's last year's look was definitely meow. Yeah, but this time it was like a t-shirt dress that she was wearing. She had like a wet look,
Yes.
and but her makeup was pretty cool. Like it had, you know, the what do you call, like the kajal, like it was flowing like black. I don't know what. Yeah.
I think she was really going for like this drenched in rain
Yeah.
kind of vibe. And of course, that whole lycra dress was absolutely amazing. Latex, sorry, not lycra. I think it was a latex dress by some
Yeah,
designer
I've
to mimic
forgotten.
that the dress is
Yeah.
completely wet. So
I
absolutely
I didn't,
genius.
you know, I didn't like the Kardashians this time.
I think we can skip that.
Okay.
Yeah, irrelevant now.
Fine. Okay. So that was really cool discussions on the Met. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to be posting 10,000 more stories because I love
All
doing
of
that.
us are. It's one of the most exciting times of the year for all of us in fashion. So definitely a lot of late night conversations around who wore what and what could have been better.
Yeah. Uh, you know, now let's just talk a little bit about your background because I think we just skipped that totally. So I remember you were telling me that you are not from a fashion background. So, like, I mean, your family, like, you know, you don't belong to like a fashion family. So tell us more about that.
I was born in Rajasthan, and I was brought up in Patna in Bihar, and this was all thanks to my father's job. So I was traveling a lot, even from a very young age. This was part of my life, and I was the black sheep of the family that I wanted to pursue design. That was the first idea that it has to be design. Then later came that either it's fashion or interiors or whatever it may be. But I was clear, like you said, that I'm a very clear person that it has to be design for my career, and they were very supportive. My parents were, from a very young age, always pushing me to pursue my dreams and do the arts and the creative things and paint and sketch. So that was quite interesting. And again, I always have said that, what I do for my brand is very strongly almost like a storytelling of how my life has been or what I'm going through and my personality. So for me, my cultural roots are very, very important and close to me. My mom had a handicrafts shop for a very brief period, while I was very young. And then she fell sick. So it was very short lived, but our house was surrounded by beautiful objects from Rajasthan, from Punjab, from other states of India. So I grew up around that. And Rajasthan and Bihar both are extremely rich in terms of the craftsmanship and the arts that each state has. So I grew up with all of this around me. So it was very natural for me to just sort of think that I would take a career in this direction. And yeah, and then I've been in Delhi since, for 20 years now. And of which I've spent a lot of my time abroad as well. I've studied in London. I've done a bachelor's in fashion designing. I've studied in Italy. I've done a master's in footwear and accessories. So even till today, travel has continued to be a constant with me in my life, and I very much enjoy it. It's something that I put back into my work as well, because the experiences, the kind of exposure and things I see and explore gets translated into the things I create. So it's quite important and strong. And I've also always felt that education is very important. That's why, I've done a master's as well. And I don't know what's next for me, but it's something that has been passed down from my father, because he's always felt that, education is extremely important. You have to study to sort of make yourself better and, progress forward in life. So, and that has stayed on with me also.
Lovely. So we learned so much about footwear, about Jeetinder himself, about his designs, and it was like an awesome conversation. But before we end, we have to play a game. It's our signature game. So let's start. Be quick about it, okay?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay. Jelly sandals, yay or nay?
Nay.
Fisherman sandals, clogs or flip-flops for the summers?
Clogs.
Slingback pumps, Mary Janes or kitten heels, if you could opt for any of these women footwear for yourself?
Mary Janes.
Converse or Vans?
Converse.
As a child, I used to do a lot of Converse though.
Yeah, like Converse any day. I have grown up with Converse. Vans were not really around me much, or at least
Same.
not around me especially. So
Yeah.
grown up with those Chucks, it's love them.
Yeah. Kendrick Lamar, Kanye West, Pharrell, Travis Scott or ASAP Rocky, whose fashion sense do you think is the best when it comes to rappers?
Pharrell, no doubt.
The LV
Yeah.
collab. Okay. Punk rock fashion pick, Vivienne Westwood or Jean-Paul Gaultier?
Jean-Paul Gaultier.
Nice. Okay, if you had to, okay, this is not related to fashion. It's a really silly question, but
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm in a silly mood. If you had to add a fruit to your pasta, what would it be? A mango, apple, or pineapple?
The Italians will kill me for saying this.
The Italians will kill me for asking this question.
I think they're coming for both of us. I would put pineapple. Please don't come after me. I'm so sorry. I have a lot of Italian friends. They're going to kill me for saying this.
Okay, fine. So that was it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed. Tell us a little bit about your experience. Did you enjoy talking?
It was
to us?
lovely. I felt so comfortable talking to you, Priyanka. It was fantastic sharing my journey. And I loved this. It was a fun conversation.
Great. I loved it too. I hope you guys love it. And if you have any comments for us, you can always comment in the comment section, but you can also write to us on pods@indiatoday.com or text us on 8588 966 996. Thank you so much. See you next time. Bye.